If the very mention of the word spreadsheets makes your palms sweat, you're not alone. Microsoft's Excel is so complicated that it's convinced everyone spreadsheets are impossible to use and really only made for accountants. But that's just not true. Apple solved the spreadsheet game years ago with a simple and free app called Numbers. They just didn't bother to teach you how to use it. That's where I come in. Just think of me as the manual that should have come with your Mac. Stick around. I got you covered. I'm Dylan Stewart, the MacWhisperer, and today I am going to show you exactly how to use Apple's free spreadsheet app, Numbers. You see, Numbers isn't just Excel with a different logo. It's the spreadsheet app for the rest of us. And by the end of this video, I think you'll be looking for excuses to use it. Make sure to stick around for my MacWhisperer power tip where I show you how to make your spreadsheet work for you instead of the other way around. And if you'd like to follow along without scrambling to keep up, scan the QR code on your screen or click the link in the description below to download your free Smart Guide. Smart Guides are simple visual PDFs that walk you through everything step by step so you can focus on learning instead of taking notes. So let's roll up our sleeves and get started. When you first open up a spreadsheet, you'll see a grid of rectangles. They call this grid a table, and they call each of the rectangles a cell. The rectangles that go up and down are called columns, and they're labeled across the top with letters. And the rectangles that go side to side are called rows, and they're labeled along the left side with numbers. The cells are labeled by the column and the row that meets to make that cell. So this cell would be C5, and this one over here would be E12. Whenever you click on a cell, it highlights the column and the row so you know exactly what cell you're looking at. It's easy to extend out your table by grabbing the handle on the top right and pulling to the right to get additional columns, or grabbing the handle at the bottom left and pulling them down to get additional rows. You can come into any column and you can right-click on it to add another column to the left or to the right. You can do the same thing with rows. Click on any row, right-click on it and add a row above or add a row below. Using cut and paste to move things around isn't as necessary in Numbers as it is in Excel. If I want to move this column over, all I have to do is select it and then click and hold and move it where I want it to go. Just like that. You can even use that same click and drag maneuver to move one or multiple cells. So if I want to move this cell over, select it, click and drag, move it wherever I want it to be. If I want to move this whole section of cells, select it, click and drag, pull it to wherever I want that to go. Super easy to move things around and put them where you need them to be. So now that you understand the basic terminology and the essential concepts, let's get started on building a spreadsheet that almost everyone needs. A simple way to track all of those pesky subscriptions. The first thing you want to do with any spreadsheet is set up your header row. And the header row goes across the top of your spreadsheet, and it's used to label the different columns with the information you're tracking. As soon as you click on any cell, you can just start typing, making it easy for you to fill in the labels quickly. You can move from cell to cell in a number of different ways. One of the most common ways is to just take your cursor and click on the next cell like this. But in addition to using your cursor, you can also use the arrow keys on your keyboard. Clicking the arrow key will just move you over to the right, the left, down, or up anytime you need to, and you can just continue to type so that you don't have to reach for the mouse or trackpad at all. One of the other things that you need to know about columns is that you can change the size of them. So if you put your cursor in between column E and F or between column D and E, you'll notice that your cursor changes to a different icon with a little bar and arrows on either side. That's the symbol that lets you know if you click and drag, you can make a column smaller or larger. And you can do that with any column or with any row. Just come in between, click and drag, and change the size. You can also come between the two columns and double click to have it auto size for what's currently inside of that column. Now we have a basic skeleton of a spreadsheet, but let's dress it up a bit. Numbers includes a built-in feature called table styles. On the right side, you're going to notice two icons here, the format icon and the organize icon. If this panel isn't open, click on the paintbrush to open it up. And make sure you're inside of the table tab here. From here, you're going to notice these different table styles. They're preset, and as soon as you click on one of them, you'll notice that the table you're working on changes color, changes style, changes font. Table styles are a great place to start, but we can also control the individual formatting ourselves. So let's select our header row by clicking on the row 1 label here. That gets the entire header row lit up. Let's come over to the text section of formatting and let's make it a little bit bigger. Let's change the color from white to black. You're in complete control with how to format and design your spreadsheet. Once your headers look perfect, let's add some real data down below them. We'll start with a streaming service like Netflix. Now we're going to want to fill in all the information in each of the columns to the right. But here's where I'm going to drop a powerful power tip to help you navigate within a spreadsheet. We spoke earlier that you can use the arrow keys to move from one cell to the next, just like that. We also talked about using your cursor to click on any cell to move around. But when you're entering data and you're on your keyboard, there's a couple of other power tips I want to share with you. The first one is that as you type, if you use the tab button on your keyboard, it will automatically move you one column to the right, just like that. Let's do it again. Tab key, and once you're done with putting the information in for that first entry, don't go reaching for your mouse. If you press the return key, it will take your selection square and put it right underneath the first square you started with. So let's do that again. Here we're going to go HBO, and when I hit the return button, I'm right underneath that first column. But remember that that trick will move you down from where you started. So if you start in a column like this and hit return, it's just going to go down on that column. Make sure to start by going to the far left column, tab yourself over, and then return to get back to that first column. Tab, return. This simple trick with using the tab key and the return key will make data entry so much easier than doing it with your mouse or the arrow keys. Once we've added all of our data in, we can format the cells and the columns as well. In Numbers, you can tell the program what kind of information is in any column so that it automatically formats it. Here, the cost column doesn't have the $sign. I don't want to type that in every time. So let's click on that column and come back over to your formatting paintbrush here and come into the section that says Cell. Here you'll see where it says Data Format. Clicking there, you'll see a bunch of different options, one of which is currency. When you choose currency, you can choose whether you're going to use decimals or not, and what currency you're using, whether it's the Australian dollar, the Canadian dollar, the US dollar, the euro, etc. And here comes another cool power tip. As we've got this frequency section here, you can see that frequency is either monthly or it's annually. So doing it manually means you're going to be typing or autofilling on a regular basis. But you don't need to manually put that in. If you select the entire column, come over to the formatting section under Cell and click where it says Data Format, you're going to see something called the pop-up menu. And the pop-up menu means that it will automatically enter in either monthly or annual. And here where it says Start with First Item, that means when you create a new cell, does it automatically do monthly? Does it automatically do annual? Or does it start blank? If we say Start with First Item, then each time we create a new row, by just pulling down here, you'll notice that it automatically fills monthly in. These little tips make it easier for you to put data into the spreadsheet and have it automatically grab the right format or style. So now we're cooking. We've got the basics entered. Now it's time to learn one of the most critical skills of Numbers: sorting. There are three things that spreadsheets excel at. Pun very much intended. They're great for organizing data. They're great for doing math, which we'll talk about in the next section. But the strongest skill of all spreadsheets is the ability to sort. Sorting is a way to easily reorganize the data based on different criteria. And although it may sound complicated, it's not only simple, but it's completely essential to using spreadsheets properly, and it's probably the most valuable tool you'll learn today. For our first sort, let's organize our subscriptions alphabetically by name. Come over to the right side of the toolbar and click on the Organize icon, and then choose the Sort tab. I'm going to click Add a Column, and down here it shows me the actual column names. So I have to look and see which column is name. It's column A, but there's a problem here. If I click this, it actually alphabetized the header row too. This sometimes happens because the header row isn't set properly. The header row has a bunch of functionality built into it, but you have to have it set and turned on for that functionality to work. If you come up to the table menu here, you're going to notice header rows. And if it's set to 0, there really isn't a header row. And that's why things are moving around. If I simply click header rows 1, it now knows that this top row is the header row, which means that when I come over to the sort section and I sort by a column, instead of it giving me A, B, C, D, E, it shows me the names of the things listed in the header row. So I can come right to sort by name, and immediately it's sorted alphabetically. And one of the other functions that can happen within spreadsheets is as they get longer and longer, you find yourself scrolling and you lose your header row, which can be problematic because then you might not know which column is which. But if you click where it says Table and come down to this section where it says Freeze Header Rows, the header row will always stay at the top and everything just slides underneath it just like that. Now let's come back over to the sorting section. Now I'd like to sort it by cost. I can come right to the current sort, click it, and just change it. And immediately it changes to a cost-based sort without us having to worry about it. It's currently set on ascending, meaning that the smaller numbers are at the top and the larger numbers are at the bottom. But we can change that around by clicking here and putting it on descending. All of a sudden, our most expensive subscription pops up to the top just like that. But you can also stack separate sorts on top of each other. If I come in to add a column and I say frequency, it will now sort not just by cost, but also by its frequency. Notice it kept annual together and it kept monthly together. That's the power of sorting things with multiple criteria at the same time. Sorting never changes your data, it just changes the way the data is organized, so you can see your data from a different perspective. But in numbers, there's also another great way to sort and organize called categories. And you'll find it in its own tab right here. And the way that categories work is if there's multiple things that are the same, like the Apple services, or the monthly versus annual frequency, you can clump things together in that way. So let's click Add a Category, and let's add the category like this. It bundles the shopping things together, the health and fitness together, the productivity, and everything else. And it's also maintained the sort for annual and then monthly, but it's doing each sort separately inside of each category. Let's change the category from category to frequency. And now all of the annual ones are together and all the monthly ones are together. You can turn on and off categories anytime that you want to clearly see everything in a specific section, like what are the different kinds of subscriptions I've got versus how often are they coming out, or even how many of them are $9.99. Lastly, let's talk about a concept called filtering. Sometimes you need to remove some of the information on your spreadsheet to see other elements or to keep it clean. And the filter tab over here is really helpful for that. Clicking on filter, you can add any kind of filter you want. If I come into frequency, I could say only show me the monthly. If I was inside of cost, I could come into this number section here and I could say greater than 10. And if I do that, you'll notice anything that's more expensive than 10 stays on the sheet and anything less than 10 just disappears. I could also say less than 10, and now it only shows me things that are less than $10. Filters are super helpful to take your data and hide the things you don't need so you can see the things that are important. Now that we've got the basics of formatting and organizing your data, let's pull out the big guns and learn how to calculate. In numbers, you can calculate in a number of different ways. Let's start simple. I'd like to know the total amount of money that we are spending on these subscriptions every month. No problem. One of the easiest calculations you can do is called a sum. It adds up all of the cells that you select. All you need to do is select a bunch of cells and then look down at the bar at the bottom and you'll see a bunch of auto calculations. Here we see the sum, $298 per month. That's a lot. The average, about $16 a month, okay? The minimum is $10, the maximum is $37.95, and there is a total of 18 items selected. That happens automatically just by selecting the information. So if I grab the annual ones here, you'll see that we're paying about $600 a year for these subscriptions, and the average is $85 with the minimum $50, the maximum $139, and there's 7 of them. You don't need to do math in your head. As soon as you select things, Apple's going to do its job to give you the basic information down below. But maybe I need to make sure that I save the information of this sum somewhere. So let's take it and put it right here. So now that total is going to stay there no matter what. And if I change the price of something, notice that it automatically changes that calculation. Whenever you create a calculation, anything that changes within the calculations section will add to that calculation. Anytime you click on that calculation box, it will show you what's being calculated, and if you double click, it'll show you the calculation itself. So that's one quick way to do calculations. Select them and then grab the calculation from the bar below and put it into whatever cell you want it to live in. Another way to do a calculation is to come into any cell and just type the equal sign. I'm going to type the word sum right into this box like this. Notice that when I did, it gave me a bunch of options. I'm going to click the sum option here, and now it's asking for the value. What that means is, where's the data you want me to make a sum of? I'm going to click on the first cell for our monthly cost and just drag straight down like this. Notice that it named them based on the column, column C, and the row 9 through row 26. If that's all I want to do, I click the green checkbox, and there is my sum of all of our subscriptions. And boy, Hulu, you raised your price since the last time I was looking. I'm going to change that back to 15. Notice that the calculation automatically updates quickly. Let's grab another row and say total per year. So the total per year is whatever we're paying per month times 12. So let's click the equals button, and we're going to now click on the total per month cell, G31, and we're going to do a multiplication sign. For multiplications in numbers, use the asterisk button on your keyboard, just like this. Type in 12 and click check. Now we've got the exact price that we're paying for all of our subscriptions per year, except we kind of left something out. We didn't grab the annual subscriptions. So let's fix that. Let's come into this section here, and we'll type total annual subscription, come into this cell, hit our equals button, sum, and select these guys right here and click the checkbox. So there's $481 for the annual subscriptions, and there's $3,933 for the monthly per year. Now let's put them together by double clicking here and adding plus and clicking on this cell. When you click on a cell, it uses whatever's in that cell to add to it. So when I click the check, we've now got our $4,400 total. Now if I were to cancel Headspace, I can now just delete that whole row. Watch as the calculation updates all of the math for us. Now if I've done my job, right about now you're probably feeling pretty confident about your numbers skills, and you're super excited to get to work with your subscription spreadsheet to make some decisions about what you're going to do with all the money you're going to save. But there's just one more thing we need to talk about. Before I drop my power tip, if you learned something new or had an aha moment, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. That makes it easier for other people to find this video, and it lets me know I'm on the right track. And if you've got a question, a comment, or a cool trick that you use in numbers that you'd like to share, drop it in the comments section below. I love to hear from my MacWhisperer community, and I read every comment. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, That just doesn't add up. See what I did there? I deliver great tips and tools about how to get the most out of your Apple technology, but I can't bring those tips to you if you don't subscribe. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button and that notify bell so that you'll always be alerted whenever I drop new content. Now, let's tally things up and calculate our way right into the power tip. Are you ready? Stick with me, because we're about to bring it all home. I'm going to teach you 2 tips that are going to transform your data right in front of you. Let's start with the first one, conditional formatting. As your spreadsheets get bigger and more complicated, it's helpful if certain sections can grab your attention, and that's where conditional highlighting comes in. Come over to the Format section and click on the Cell tab right here. Down at the bottom, you're going to find Conditional Highlighting. So we're going to come into Conditional Highlighting, and we're going to add a rule. The rule is going to be a number. If it's more than $10, I'm going to have it fill in red. And you'll see it did it for me super quickly. Let's do it again. This time, let's select the date column. I'm going to grab all of the dates, come over to Conditional Highlighting, and click Add a Rule. Here I'm going to add a date rule. If one of these is coming up in the next 1 week, make it green. And immediately it shows the 2 dates that are coming right up. That Amazon Prime and Microsoft subscription are going to renew next week. I can come in here and make that for the next 3 weeks, and it grabs the AAA membership at the end of the month. You can do it with pretty much anything. So let's do one more, coming over here and grabbing all of the names and adding a rule that says text contains plus. And instead of a green fill, this time let's make it turn it into red text. And look over the left, it changed the formatting for those cells. And that's a pretty cool trick, but this next tip is going to blow your mind. We're going to create a bar graph right in front of you. Now, in order to do this, we're going to need to make sure that you've got a header column. To do that, come up to the table menu, come up to header columns, and make sure that it's set. And make sure that the column you want to track things by is in the left. The name column is perfect because that's going to help us know what the actual data means. Now we're going to grab the contents of the cost column and come and click on our toolbar where it says chart. I'm going to click this one right here. And here's all the separate subscriptions and what their costs are. Click on the bar graph here to change the labels at the bottom. You'll see we're on this Access tab. And here we've got the Y value, which is the up and down, and the X category. Let's click on the X here. And here, we're going to come where it says Label Angle Horizontal, and let's just change that to left diagonal. And if we make this a little bit bigger, it gives us even more details. But there's something else that we can do that I think is really awesome. And that's where we come into the Series tab here, and under Value Labels, instead of giving it none, let's give it the same as the source data. That means that right at the top of every one of these bars, we know exactly how much ChatGPT or Apple or Hulu is costing us. All right, that's our bar graph. Let's get rid of it and come back up, select our cost column again, and come back to our toolbar, but this time, let's pick the pie chart. You can increase the size of the graph, and what you can also do is come into the wedges section and change the label distance. If I pull on this, the labels go out a little bit further. And I can even give the labels an arrow by coming down to the endpoints and choosing the arrow, and I can make it a little bit thicker or make it angled like this so that it shows me exactly what I'm spending. Come back to the wedges, and where it says labels, data point names, let's click on that as well. And here we've got a complete bar graph showing us exactly how much we're spending for each of these different services. And where it says value data format, that's grabbing these percentages, but maybe I don't want the percentages. Maybe I want the amount it's costing us. And just like that, we've got a perfect, beautiful pie chart with all of the data we need to figure out what's costing us the most money and cancel that subscription. Now, instead of just reading down a column of numbers, you can turn that data into a visual guide to help you manage your subscriptions or almost anything else. Remember, we used a subscription tracker as an example in this video, but it's definitely not the only place where numbers can come in and save the day or save you a ton of money. So that's what we've got for today's video, all about mastering numbers on your Mac. Everything we learned today is tucked safely inside your free Smart Guide. If you haven't grabbed yours yet, scan that QR code on the screen or hit the link in the description below. I hope you learned a ton today, but if you're like me, learning is never done. Check out this video over here for another amazing lesson to help you get the most out of all of your Apple products. I'm Dylan Stewart, the Mac Whisperer, and I'll see you in the comments.